Hello. It has been a very long time since I've made a video. I think the last video I made had to do with our birds. We used to raise quail and pheasants and guineas. Well, we still raise guineas. We don't have any guineas right now because we get about 200 guineas in February, and we sell some. We raise some, and long about end of July or so, we butcher them all out. And they've done their job. They've eaten the ticks, they've eaten the grasshoppers, they've eaten all the bad things that we don't want anyway, and that has worked out fantastic. So we get rid of them. We just go ahead and butcher them and eat them throughout the winter. Perfect, right? Quail, we're working on that as well. We still raise quail, and we still do it for the same purpose as we always have. And that is, my wife has extreme allergies to grass and quail eggs. She sucks down when pollen season is up really strong. She sucks down about 10 eggs a day, and that works fantastic, better than any drugs she's ever tried. But anyway, what I'm really here to talk about is I am now fully retired, and we've been working towards this for the last 3 years. Back in 2019, we bought 20 acres of land in eastern Washington, way back in the middle of nowhere, and we've been living there ever since. I said I built our house, I built a barn. These things I built myself, and if anybody needs help on how to build these kind of things, do the same thing I did. Look it up on YouTube. That's what I did. It works. Anyway, what I really like to share with you is how we've gotten along for 3 years. No income really, other than what we've sold for guineas. I think we might have sold maybe 100 guineas or so, and we might have made a couple $1,000s or something like that. Definitely not enough to last for the entire year. So anyway, how have we lived here for 3 years? Well, our cost of living is extremely cheap, very, very cheap. This is something that we have enjoyed because we live completely off-grid. We're on complete solar. We have our own well. We garden. We raise a lot of our own crops. And we live extremely cheap. So people who say they struggle, we haven't had an income. Well, I think when we bought this place and we built back here, we paid cash for everything. We owe nobody, and we never have. Since we've lived here, we've never owed anybody. I mean, other than maybe, internet? Internet costs us about $80 a month. And then our insurance for our pickup truck, that's it. That's our bill load. And gas for the generator. We have a little 2,000 watt generator, and we have about I think it's 1,860 watt solar system. And then we have a 400 watt well. So that's our power. Right now we're powering up 4 freezers. We have a 7 cubic foot and 3 5 cubic foot freezers, and these we put in place of our big freezer. We have the largest upright made. We're not using it. Why? It's just too hard to power up, and we was having too much difficulty when it got cold out to keep it frozen. We was having to substitute a lot of generator power for that. So instead, we opted to go with these smaller freezers, small chest freezers, working fantastic. Because now I can manage the power better. I can have 2 on, 4 on, 1 on. What do I want? It works fantastic now. Matter of fact, it's kind of a mostly cloudy day, and I've got 4 of those on, plus our little refrigerator. Oh yes, we had a great big upright freezer. Not using that either. Why? Well, we moved to a tiny little, I think it's about a 5 cubic foot refrigerator. No freezer in it. Works fantastic. Just exactly what we were needing. So that's what we use now. Now, as we move forward into this retirement, the only money I'll have coming in is coming off Social Security. That's it. Not a dime more comes in other than what we sell for guineas, and that may be anywhere from. We didn't have a very good year this last year because we our son down in Mississippi was going through some times, and so we went down there and helped him. So we took our guineas and we ended up butchering pretty much everything. I think we sold a little bit. We might have made a couple $100, but really, when you look at it in the scope of the feed, the energy that it takes for heat lamps and whatnot, we didn't really make a dime on that. We lost money, and that's okay. That happens. We're fine with that. But now we're moving forward, and this next year we'll have guineas for sale again. We'll butcher a bunch of guineas, and because we don't eat chicken. We really don't. We don't raise chickens. I know a lot of people do raise chickens. We don't raise chickens. Most of the eggs that we eat all comes from our quail. This winter, the quail are going. We're going to butcher all the quail. We raise just enough because, let's face it, these little quail, they're good for a couple years. That's it. And generally, we raise them for about a year. We make their egg production very heavy, so these little birds are getting pretty well burned out. So why put the energy out, right? I mean, if my wife doesn't need it for her grass allergies, we don't really need the eggs either. We have a whole slew of hard-boiled pickled eggs that we can eat on. So that'll still give us our eggs that we want occasionally. And then next year we'll hatch out, or we will buy about 50 quail. We don't need 50 quail. We need about 20 females. But we'll have about 50 quail here. And with the males in there and whatnot, then we'll hatch out some out of that, and we'll call it good. That'll give us our quail meat. So we'll have our quail meat. We'll have our guinea meat, which is what we use for chicken. And then we'll have our, so you're saying, well, what about beef? What about pork? Well, last year, let's see now. Last year we butchered 3 of our own pigs. We had cooney coonies is what people want to call them. We had those. We butchered all those up before we went to Mississippi to be with our son for a couple months because we had no one back here to take care of them. So we butchered those. We had 2 calves. We butchered both of those. We had a bull and a heifer, and we let those get up to the I think the heifer was roughly around 450, 500 pounds, something like that, and the bull, he was up around 650, 700. And for a small homestead like my wife and I's, that works out just about right, honestly. That's something we can handle. We don't have farm equipment or any of that kind of stuff. We don't have a tractor. Do I want one? Yes, I do. Yes, I want a farm tractor, but it's not in the cards right now. We can't afford a farm tractor, so you do what you can do. So my main point that I'm trying to make here is when you're reaching retirement, you may be looking at yourself, okay, well, I'm living in town. Well, so did we. We were living on the west side of Washington in Olympia. We had ourselves a small trailer. We lived very cheaply, as cheaply as you could for renting we had land rent. We owned our trailer, but we had land rent. And that's where some of the money came from for when we bought this farm and we needed building materials and all that kind of stuff. So that's where that money came from. Because and plus what we had saved up. My wife is a fantastic saver. I think if she could save every rock, she would, and build those up to many rocks. Next thing you know, I've got a driveway built. So that's just how much my wife will save. So yes, that's where a lot of that money came from. That's where our money came from for when we went to Mississippi and we stayed there for a couple, 2.5 months, something like that. But it's nice when you're living off grid. You've got no expenditures. You can just come and go as you want. So for us, it's fantastic. We really like it. So and we're going to get back to traveling again. We've traveled a little bit around the world. We've been to Vietnam. We've been to Taiwan twice. We've been to Korea a couple times. We've been to Guam. We've been now we're looking at South America, possibly Peru. Why do we want to go to Peru? Well, the only reason we really want to go to Peru is because, why not? Go to your local grocery store. Look at some of the fruits that are coming in. look, see where they're coming from. And so in the future, possibly as I get more into doing this type of videos than what I used to do, we want to show you farm to table, you know, all over the world, farm to table, because let's face it, that's how we live. We live from farm to table. Anybody who eats are living from grocery store to table. Well, where'd the stuff come from? It came from a farm somewhere. It came from an orchard. It came from someplace. And so that's what we want to show. We want to show all over the world, farm to table, vineyard to table. You know, where does stuff come from in different countries? Because it's got our fascination going. It really does. I mean, I don't know how many mangoes we bought that said product of Peru. Oh, okay. Product of Guatemala. Product of Argentina. How many people out there who like shrimp? There for a while there was this big craze for Argentina shrimp. The things were fantastic. And, well, I'd like to see where they come from. And that's one of our main reasons why we like to travel, to see where this food comes from. You know, farm to table, ocean to table. Where is it coming from? You know, so that's what we want to go see. We want to go see. I mean, if we go down to Peru and we end up in one of those little towns up northern part of Peru where ceviche was developed, where it first started. Well, I don't want to just go eat ceviche. I want to go see where the ceviche came from. What fish are they using? Where'd that fish come from? So let's go to the ports. Let's see where the fish markets are. See where the fish comes from. And, you know, it's no different than here on our farm. We raise sweet corn, we raise potatoes, we raise onions. We had a fabulous onion year, by the way, here in eastern Washington. It turned out really well. We do hang on a second. Hear that little beeping in the background? That's my inverter telling me need power. Well, there's only so much sun you're going to get. So guess what I get to go do? I get to get up and turn something off, because that's how it's done. So hang on a second. I'll be right back. Oh, I'm back. I just had to go turn 2 freezers off. We've kind of got a partly cloudy day. And when it's partly cloudy days, solar panels, you know, when you only have 6 solar panels that are 320 watts each, it doesn't quite cut it. So will I put more in someday? I would like to. Yeah, I would like to. Will I? Probably not. I like to travel more. So, you know, kind of one of those things. You might be saying to yourself, well, why didn't you put more batteries in, you know, so you can store up that energy? You know what? It comes down to cost. You know, batteries cost money. Our goal when we built this here was get moved in. Did I put the latest and greatest of type batteries in? No, I'm running lead acid. You say, well, wow, you should be LiFePO, you know, LiFePO 4s or whatever, you know. Listen to me. If you live up here in the north where we do, and when we first started building this, guess where my battery bank was? Guess where my inverter was? Guess where my charge controller was? Outside. All of it. All of it was outside, tidily wrapped up in a tarp, in a kitchen cabinet. It's all inside there. The batteries were in styrofoam boxes outside because we were building our house. I didn't have time to build a inverter room or any of that kind of stuff. So everything was outside in the cold. And it got real cold out. It got down to, I think that winter, it got down to like 4 below or something like that, you know. The batteries maintained decent. I think the coldest they got was right down at freezing, 32 degrees or something like that. But they still worked. Do we have enough battery backup power to supply our whole needs? Absolutely not. But do we have enough battery power to make our inverter work to where we can power up the stuff that we want for short durations of time to where you can still live? Yes, those things we do have, and that's what counts. What counts is that you have enough to live on. Can we live 100% that way? No. And that's fine. That is absolutely fine. Because that was our intention. Our intention was not to. We heat with wood. So chainsawing I go here in just a little bit. Right now I'm waiting on, there's such a thing here in eastern Washington. Most places have 4 seasons every year. We have 5. We have 5 seasons here. And right now we're in the 5th season. It's between that summer and end of fall. There's a season right in between right there that's known as fire season, or more affectionately called smoke season, where it gets extremely smoky, and it does this pretty much every year. Sometimes it starts in June. Most of the time it starts around August. So, you know, those things happen. So you live where it's smoky for a little bit. We just don't do anything outside. We just go inside and don't worry about it. And that's just the beauty of living off-grid. You pretty much decide what you want to do. Do you want to go outside today and work, or do you want to stay inside and lollygag? What do you want to do? And that's pretty much what we do. You know, I got work to do I need to do outside. But right now, I'd rather talk to you guys and let you know what we're doing and how this is going to evolve as as my wife and I move into this Social Security thing. So, do I have a big Social Security pension? No, I've got right about average. I never made a whole lot of money. I was a truck driver, so I never made a whole lot of money when I was working. I mean, I moved from a truck driver. I've been that for years. I moved from that to a yard hostler, where I moved trailers around at big warehouses. That don't really pay all that great, but yeah, I did it because I got tired of being on the road. So, you know, I didn't make a whole lot. So my Social Security is not that big, but hey, I was in the military years ago, so I've got the VA for insurance and stuff like that, so I'm not too worried about that kind of stuff. Yeah, you know, but the lifestyle is what we're after. You know, we don't have a rush. You know, when everybody was dealing with all that COVID thing, we had it made back here. We really did. We had it made here because talk about isolation. When we leave a paved highway, we drive down a gravel road. Once we get down towards the end of that gravel road, we turn off into somebody's driveway. Then we turn off and go across some rancher's feedlot, and we start going backwoods, back trailing until we get to our place. It takes us 30 minutes from a paved road to get to where we live. So we didn't worry about none of that. Actually, I was just watching a video on YouTube here just a little while ago, and they were talking about this COVID thing coming back, whatever that is. I have no idea. Don't pay attention to it. But if it does, fantastic. Because we built our place during that last big COVID thing. We built this place. When they were saying, oh, you can't go down the highway, we were hauling materials here because materials were actually cheaper then. Gas was really cheap. And so we built this place doing that. So if that was to come back, fantastic. We would continue to build. You know, I mean, we'd either build or we'd save because our cost of living would go down even further. So keep that in mind, you know. So what I really do hope, though, is that anybody out there who's going to retire or getting ready to retire, I retired at 62. Highly recommend. But I can't tell you what to do. You do what you want to do. But that was me. I take the money and run. I did that when I was in the military years ago. They gave me a re-enlistment bonus, and I said, yeah. And I took my re-enlistment bonus, and I stayed in the military for another 6 years. Until they said, you can get out now. Any more bonus? No. Bye. And I left. You know, just like that. I spent about 9.5 years in the military. You know, and so why not? You know, if they're going to give you the money, take it. And that's kind of what I thought about this whole retirement thing. I was like, well, something's better than nothing, because right now we got nothing coming in. Because this is a life, you know, in other words, this is something that my wife and I made a decision on basically 3 years ago to move towards this direction. All we had to do was just have enough to live on for the 3 years until we got to this point. Do we have much of a bankroll right now? No. No, we do not have a big bankroll right now. So, because it took money to live, and so now we don't have much money. But hey, when you live as cheaply as we do, our monthly expenses is hardly anything at all. And so we can pretty much put away a good chunk of that money. At the very beginning here, we're not going to be able to put much away because, well, every couple of years I got to put tires on the truck because living off, way back in the boonies like we do, you wear out tires faster. So keep that in mind if you ever decide to move way back in the middle of nowhere. You're going to go through tires because it's a rough terrain. Okay, so you're going to go through tires. They're going to wear out faster. We also live quite a distance away from any major city, so you got that to keep in mind. It takes us over an hour to get to Spokane because we live so far away. So you got that wear and tear on your vehicle. So keep that in mind that you're going to have expenses in that regard. Then we got our little generator, so there's maintenance on that. There's just little things that comes along. You got the chainsaw, you've got to sharpen the chain, so there's little things I'll need there. But it's just little stuff, and you just move along, and no real big deal because you plan for it. So, but yeah, so like I said, I don't want to belabor this too long, but hey, I'm going to start off doing these a little bit more and see how that goes. Hopefully I can help share with what we're doing and how we're getting along and how this whole retirement things, because maybe you're getting ready to retire and you just need somebody to talk to about it. That's what I'm here for. I love to talk to people, and so hey, have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.